So now we're going to go ahead and start Module 3 of Chapter 6, Sensation and Perception. And this time we've already talked about vision in Module 2, so now we're going to launch into hearing, taste, smell, and somatostatic. So basically we're going to cover the other 4 senses out of the 5, with the vision having just been discussed in Module 2. So let's go ahead and first tackle hearing. Okay, so what we know about hearing is, first, babies can hear before birth. And actually, unlike vision, which is somewhat immature at the beginning, sounds, right away babies are able to discern sound and actually are even able to pick it up in the womb. So there is a lot of kind of family lore out there about having the child listen to Mozart to increase their brain capacity and such while a woman's pregnant. And while that doesn't really work, it is true that all the sounds that a baby hears during pregnancy, at least the intonation and the rhythms of the voice, make them prefer that when they come out, meaning that they can recognize their mother's voice at a very early age, well before some of the other adults in their lives. So that's kind of intriguing. I always say, if you're going to want your child to like the type of music that you listen to, you need to listen to it while you're pregnant, and hopefully they'll be preferable to that. Another thing that babies can do is localize sounds. So I know we haven't really spent a lot of time probably pondering the existence of why our ears are on the side of our head and not in the front. If you look at your mouth, your nose, your eyes, your ears, why aren't they at the front? And the reason for that is to help localize sound, because when sound waves come in this way here, they're going to hit this ear before they hit this ear. And that little difference, my brain can automatically perceive that, oh, the sound is coming from over this way, so I need to look over there. And we have that inborn capability. So I've always thought that that's pretty cool. Now, the other thing that we have the ability to do, even from birth, is to be able to discriminate different sounds, and that we begin to prefer the language that we hear, and we begin to eliminate our sensitivity to those other sounds. And so even as early as age 1, you're beginning to see the blocking off of certain sounds versus others based on what the infant hears. And so that's why it's so important for the environment for environmental exposure and its influence. So as you can see, the phonemes, now what do I mean by phonemes? These are the basic sound system that make up language, those type of sounds. And so it's very important to be able to pick up on those phonemes and be able to discriminate among them. And after a while of listening to a language, you notice I'm talking pretty quickly right now, how are you able to discern that one word is not another? Well, you do that from phonemes and your knowledge of the language, and then you make the corresponding cuts to illustrate a particular word or otherwise. So the discriminating phonemes by 2 months is an incredibly important sort of thing, and that early sort of experience and exposure to different languages is just so critical as the child matures. As far as some of the other senses, taste and smell work very well right after birth. What we begin to see, like with smell, of course, olfaction, where you have chemicals in the air, they go ahead and go up the nose, make it to the receptors, and the receptors can go very shortly right up to the brain. With taste, of course, you got your taste buds, and those taste buds, the papillae, are repeatedly refreshed, and they allow us to have some sensitivities also. So, for instance, at birth, infants can distinguish between sweet, bitter, sour, and they prefer sweet. And so, as you might imagine, things that are sweeter they can become more attracted to. And they've used that to babies' benefit in that they found that if you give an infant something sweet before they have something painful occur, like giving a shot, that they tend to have less severe reactions. And so a lot of times, not that you give them a lollipop, but even just sugar water, in really young infants, you squirt it in their mouth before you get the shot, and you don't tend to have as severe of a reaction on the infant's part. So it's pretty neat that they have a sweet tooth even at a young age. And as I was saying also, breast milk tends to be sweet. So that also encourages them to drink more, which is really important for the child's survival. So it's kind of really neat how all this kind of works together. Next is a mouthful, but once I explain what it is, somatostatic senses. So what this is your touch, your temperature, and your pain. And we know now, anyway, that babies really can feel pain, and we may make allowances so that they don't needlessly suffer when they have things occur to them, like shots or circumcisions. So for a long time, they didn't think babies felt pain in the same way, and so circumcision wasn't done with any anesthetic or local numbing. And so you can imagine those poor little baby boys had quite a painful procedure. Fortunately, times have changed, and so now they use some numbing cream down there, and babies aren't put through the same level of pain with their circumcisions. So these are important things for us to have discovered over the time, as you can tell, because it has some real-world implications. So those were the other four senses in addition to vision. And in our next module, we'll talk about kids moving around with their little locomotion and how they integrate all of this information that's coming in at once to be able to make better sense of the world.